on how to own the room with Zoom. So the first question is, how's your lighting? If you look around at the different screens of the people in our room even today, and the way that you can see everybody who's in the room or more people who's in the room is if you have like a photo strip on your right-hand side right now, if you hover over that with your mouse up at the top, you'll see it says show grid video, and you'll see more people in the room. Has everybody gotten there?
So,
can you repeat it?
So the thing that Ellen's pointing to is, Ellen, drop the slide for a second, please.
Yep.
Thank you, my friend. So it's a little easier to tell the difference between these two things. So if you hover on the upper right-hand side, it'll say speaker view or gallery view is how it's labeled. So if you want to see just speaker, then it's speaker. If you want to see the gallery, then it's gallery. But then, Ellen, if you could share that screen again for me, please. For some of you, your view may change when you are presenting. Your view may change depending on what your settings are in Zoom. So she may or may not have a film strip right now. So that's a setting in Zoom that we can show you. If you go to your lower left-hand corner, you should have a little phone icon and a little video icon. And in that, you can click on the video icon and you should have something that'll pop up video settings. And if you look on, no, okay, so it's because of the settings on the Zoom account. So we'll skip that part, but we can teach you that another day if you wanted to do something separately. So Ellen, go ahead with lighting.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop the slide for a second so we can all just look around, because this is a perfect microcosm of what you typically see when you're on a Zoom call. One of the ways that you can tell how your lighting is look at your cell in that gallery view right now and compare it to the people around you. If you're in the dark, that means you likely need light in front of your face. If you're in shadow, that means the light is coming from behind you. Now you can probably see light reflecting in my glasses. That's because I have the two computer screens going on in the background, but I also have a really inexpensive light that I got from Amazon, and I can change the filters on this. So it's a blue filter, a way too bright filter, and a little warmer filter. But you can actually add light in front of your face so that you're more clearly visible. Right, so lighting is really important, particularly if you're presenting because you want to be seen. Okay, any questions about lighting? And it's really easy and inexpensive to buy these lights. And mine is plugged right into my computer, and I only use it when I'm on calls because it's a little bright for my eyes to use all day long. The next question is, where's your face? All right, once again, let's look at the screen here. If your face is like down here, you probably need to lower your monitor or raise you, right? So think about you in the center of the square. Look around at the faces you see on the screen. Some of us are centered, some of us are not. I see Nancy's adjusting. And it's an easy thing to do if you have a laptop. It's a little more difficult sometimes to do if you're on a cell phone, because cell phones are little and squirrely and they tip over and stuff like that, right? And some of us have older cameras, and that's another thing to keep in mind. Once again, it's very inexpensive to buy a new camera and just hook that up on the top of the monitor and adjust the angle so that we're not looking down. And it's also just keep in the back of your mind that when you're coming onto a Zoom call, whether you're a participant or a presenter, that you want to sort of be seated and have everything before you turn your camera on, because otherwise you get to see the boob shot, which is this. You're welcome. Right? How often have we seen people wrestling with their technology, and you're like, you're looking down their shirt? No, it's not pretty, ladies. So I would just, this guy made you all laugh, yay. So that's a thing to keep in mind, right? Is where is your laptop, where's your face relative to the screen? Particularly if you're presenting, you want to be well lit and you want to be in the center of the screen.
Where's your face and where are your boobs? I think that's the takeaway question here.
The last one is to manage how you sound. right? If we'll look around. How many of you are using the sound from your computer or your phone, right? I'm not, but I was just saying, show me by hands. How many of you have a separate headset that you're using? Okay, great. So I just started using this headset. Hopefully the quality is good. It has noise canceling in it, and it cost me $29. Once again, if I'm just doing my stuff all day long, I won't be wearing this because it puts a little bit of pressure on my head. It's not the most comfortable thing. Some people, Kathy was showing us, she has a cool thing with earplugs, right? That looks pretty comfortable. Johanna was saying that hers fall out of her ears. So like the headset that we use to go for a walk with, you know, listening to Audible isn't probably the same one we want to use on a call, just because the tone quality is better on something like this, but also we don't want it falling out of our ears while we're making a gesture or doing something like that. So those are some quick things. There's also, Jenny, you want to talk about separating your phone from your computer when you're on a Zoom call?
Sure. So something to consider when you are hosting a Zoom call is when you see these numbers come in that are random numbers and you can't quite make out, like, oh, whose phone number is that? Or, you know, who am I talking to? So sometimes when people are coming into your meeting, you may see that there's some sort of distinction between the telephone number and the person. So you can actually merge those two things. So when somebody's coming on, if you see a number coming in and then you see a name separately, you can right click on the phone number when it shows up in your participant list. So if you hover over to the bottom where you can see the list of participants, you should see everybody's name right now for who's here. And we don't have anybody that's a stray phone number, but if we did, what we could do is we could click on them. We don't even need to right click. We could just hover over their name or over their number, click on where it says more, and it'll give you the option to merge the video so that way you can have the voice aligned with the face, which is particularly useful when it comes to breakout rooms. Because if I have your voice on a separate identity from your face and I send everybody to breakout rooms, your voice might be in one room and your face will be in another.
So if any of you,
we learned that early on.
Yeah, if any of you have ever gone to a breakout room and you're going wah, 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 and the person can't hear you at all, you've likely not been joined by the host, the voice to the photo. Yeah, really.
Well, let me clarify that. It's not that you need to join by the host. You need to make it easy for people to do. So the trick, here's the workaround for that. You can merge them, like Ellen said, you know, join them by the host. But you can also, when you dial into Zoom, you get that little thing that says participant ID. That's the essential piece of information that the software is looking for, because that participant ID links your face to your number. So that's the reason that it asks. Sometimes it's just easy to like dial in and hit pound and say, what does it matter? I'm here already. But the two stay separated if you don't tell it who you are. So, but the host can correct that for you.
So hopefully those three pieces, you know, how's your lighting, where's your face, and how do you sound, are the primary elements of showing up and competently presenting. The next piece we're going to shift to is a whole conversation about how you show up, the energy level and all of that. So Jenny, I don't know if you want to lead them through the first part, or do you want me to do that?
Sure. So let's go ahead and we're gonna do something a little different. So we would invite you to kick your chair back. We're all gonna get the belly shot today at this moment. So let's kick our chairs back and stand up. Stand up. We're all gonna give the mutual boob shot because this is a group of ladies, so we can get away with that. So let's go with the mutual boob shot. Look at all of these beautiful bellies. Aren't we wonderful? So I invite you to now stand up. Stretch your hands way, way up towards the ceiling, right? Hands up towards the ceiling like you were gigantic. Amy Cuddy calls this the power pose. You may have seen it before. And stand with your feet apart a little bit. And just notice how you feel. Make yourself really big again. With your arms. There we go. And back down again. So when you sit down, to lead a meeting, and you can sit back down again. We're going to do the rest of this exercise sitting. When you sit down to do a meeting, one of the things that might help you is to actually make yourself a little bit bigger before you make yourself smaller in your chair, because you're activating all the right stuff in your brain that says, I'm confident, I'm big, I have status, I know what I'm doing. And then once you sit down, there's another part to this. So Ellen, would you like to do the cues part of this? And we will all go through it. I'm going to model this with you, but as Ellen reads through the cues, we can all do exactly what she says. And if you are feeling any question or doubt, you can just mirror me.
All right. So good morning, everyone. You are going to assume the helm of the SS Middlesex, and you're the captain. The boat is conveniently moored at the Mattabesset Canoe Club, so that after you complete your sail, you can have a cocktail and a nice snack out on the deck. Now imagine that you are getting ready to take command of this ship and you've never met your crew. Here's what we'd like you to do. We'd like you to just take a moment and look down, tilt your head down, turn your shoulders in and down. Lean away from the screen. Cross your legs. Slump down a little bit more. Now I'd like you to see you fidget a little bit, maybe play with your hair. Click your pen if you have one. Allow your eyes to dart from block to block on the screen in front of you. Avoid eye contact or giggle and look away when you're in danger of making it. Okay. From this way of being, imagine now that you have to interact with your crew for the first time. Look up and attempt to make eye contact with someone from this space of dis-ease. How do you feel right now? Do you feel confident and authoritative? Do you feel like you're taking command? Bernadette says, yeah, a little bit. All right. All right, let's shake that off, because that is not a comfy way to be, is it? All right, let's reset to your neutral, like how you would normally sit at your desk. Jenny's stretching a little bit to just shake that off. If you've ever done any energy healing, gone to a Reiki healer or any of that, they do this. They get rid of the energy of that. So there we go. So now let's see you chin up, shoulders back, chest out. You know, good posture. Imagine somebody came along with a ruler and tapped you on the shoulder and said, sit up straight. There you go. Now lean forward and center your upper body with the center of the square in front of you. Notice, am I too high? Am I too low? Like sit up straight. There you go. Now make direct eye contact with the folks on your screen, like try and catch their eye, nod. Inform your face that you feel happy to be here. There you go. All right. And now imagine walking in to meet your crew for the first time. And we'll ask, does your body feel different now than it did a few minutes ago?
Yes.
Right? Has your environment or circumstances changed? Right? But we change in that environment and we become somebody that people listen to. And this transmits immediately on Zoom. So what do you think? What changed between those two things? You can unmute. Let's just have a conversation about that.
Your body language.
Yeah. What about it, Nancy?
From insecure to confident. From
Exactly.
slouching to not looking at the eyes to being able to look straight on and being focused and holding the room.
Yes, thank you. And Sandy, yes, confidence. What else? What else was different?
You actually thought about it before you went further.
Yes. So making that conscious decision to actually show up. Yeah. Anything else? Would you believe that your voice will sound clearer and you will sound more in control if you're sitting up straighter? You actually have more breath available to you. You're not caving in on the source of your breath, which is in your belly. Right? We open up our shoulders. Go ahead, Jenny.
Well, so here's what's coming up for me around this is that sometimes when we've been in rooms where we're reviewing good stuff like, you know, basic body language, which this is not super complex, and it's something that theoretically many of us were taught by our parents. Sit up straight, make eye contact. But here are a couple of things to keep in mind. One, this may be something that we do naturally when we walk into a, quote, real life networking situation, right? We're much more aware of what our bodies are doing when we walk into a physical room than we are when we walk into a Zoom room. Because right now, doing so much in a virtual world is we're losing context for who people are, and we're losing context for how we want to show up in those spaces, because we're experiencing all parts of our lives through one space, whether it's a client or your grandmother or your sister. We're seeing everyone through this one space. So what that's leading to, and this is something that's actually being studied right now during this whole pandemic, is what this leading to is it's leading to different ways that people may be forgetting themselves, we'll put it politely, or not pulling up their full selves in a contextually appropriate way. So I may show up because I'm so used to seeing everybody in the same space. I may show up the same way in every single meeting, and that may not be the right thing to do. So part of why we're signposting this body language piece of the picture is because how we are choosing to show up by intention makes a very big difference when we're leading a meeting. So the note here is to be intentional about it and to stay in your body so that you can use your body to inform how you're showing up. Because you would do that in a real life situation, wouldn't you? You'd go into a networking or an important business meeting and you'd check your posture, wouldn't you? You'd be, okay, where's my bag, my papers. You would do that in a speaking situation. But when we're just moving from like the bathroom to the bedroom, we may not be doing that as much because we don't have the physical cues that tell us to do that. So we have to create them. We have to create physical cues that tell us where we are. That's part of why this is important. And then to Ellen's point, there's this piece that's about breathing and breath. So everybody put a hand, I'm going to try and avoid my mic here, put a hand up here on the top of your chest. And breathe in as if you could breathe in right to that hand, right into that hand. Take a deep breath and let it out. So if you're breathing into the top of your chest, you're doing what's called shallow breathing, which is something that we humans do a lot when we're running from place to place to place. We're not getting nearly as much oxygen if we're shallowly breathing all the time. Take another hand and put it on your belly. And breathe into that hand as if you're breathing right into your navel. And blow out from the belly. Push the air out from your belly. Okay? You should be able to feel a pretty significant difference between those two things. So even though it's harder to project your voice clearly when you're sitting down, it can be done, and we're going to help you with a little bit of the breathing. So I invite you now to unmute, and let's do a vocal exercise together. So everyone unmute, take your second to unmute. And take a deep breath in through that belly. Okay, and then when you breathe out, push sound out as if it was completely bypassing your vocal cord. Just push sound out and go, Do it one more time. Breathe into that belly and push sound out. Great. So this is just sort of a little note around some some ways to use your voice. Now let's talk for a minute. Ellen mentioned on that slide, she talked about enunciating and how is your sound. So I'm going to be Richard Burton for a moment and make this face, because this is how Richard Burton comes across, like this. But really, for you, you don't have to be Richard Burton. But one thing we've noticed in a lot of Zoom rooms is because of the variations in microphone and environment, people are not always heard. So let's practice enunciating clearly and in a big way. And you're going to repeat after me. Oop, I hear something in the background. That's okay. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Repeat after me. If you, where is that coming from, Joanna?
It's from the chamber. I can tell the voices.
It's Danielle.
Okay.
Sandy needs
So
to.
we'll have to have that one person mute, but hopefully it will be fun and we can hear each other do this. So here's what I want you to do. We're going to exaggerate all of our sounds through the following vocal exercise. So do this with your face. Do this with your face. Push, warm up the facial muscles like that, like this. And now I want you to say, I'm a mother pheasant plucker. To me.
Mother
Pheasant
pheasant
plucker.
plucker.
I'm afraid it's going to come out wrong.
I
I
pluck
am
mother pheasants.
pheasant.
I
am
pluck
mother
pheasants.
pheasants.
I'm the most pleasant.
I'm the most
pleasant
Mother pheasant plucker
Mother
pleasant
pheasant
Plucker.
plucker
that ever plucked
that ever
plucked
a mother pheasant.
a
Mother
mother
Pheasant.
Yay! Any F-bombs? Did we have any? Did any come out?
No
No?
fun allowed.
Nope.
So
So the
two
fun
things-
in that is
Go
the
ahead.
silliness of it, but there's also the whole avoiding the F-bomb drop because of the mishmash of the letters. So
Right.
this is part of where the intentional breathing and the intentional use of your voice and the intentional body language and how you show up can matter greatly. Because sometimes when we're presenting, whether we're running a meeting or we're presenting in a space like this where we're delivering particular content to people we choose to serve and connect with, sometimes it's easy to get all up in our heads worrying about, oh, did I say the right thing? Did I da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da? And next thing you know, your breathing is way up here and your voice starts to do this and you're concerned and la-la-la and it's video and oh my God, what happened in the chat? And that camera's failing and da-da-da-da and what was that noise outside my window? Back in the body, breathing into the belly, slow your voice down. Let your belly breathing do the work for you in your voice and get back grounded in who's in front of you.
The
So
other
that
thing-
transition that you just saw me make like that is possible through practice. Go ahead, Elle.
The other thing that I was going to say is that breathing from your belly informs your parasympathetic nervous system that all is well. Right? If you think of a lion out on the savannah, they're breathing, they're laying back, and their big bellies are going up and down gently. When they're getting ready to pounce, they're panting, right? And we are part of that animal kingdom. When we breathe shallowly and rapidly, it signals to our body that there's danger or threat. When we breathe from our belly, it signals to our body that we're calm and all is well, which directly affects how we present. Because lightness and smiles are not available to us when we're in our heads and concerned. Right? That piece of I'm here for you, I'm not here for me. And when we do classes on presentation skills, we're always talking about the audience is your scene partner. You know, because we do a lot of improv. The audience is your scene partner. My job is to connect with my audience. and to not be in my head about my own performance. Are they getting it? Are they engaged? Are they playing with me? Are they catching a ball when I throw it, right? So I can't be here for you if I'm in my head and in here with me, panting. So that simple reminder to breathe and to like loosen up your jaws, all of that stuff is signaling to your body that all is well and makes you present in a much calmer and more effective way, right? And lets you choose. We talked before about choosing how you show up. This is another piece of choosing how you show up. So let me see. So we're going to go to a quick overview of the handout that you have. And if you don't have it, I'm going to ask Johanna, I know I sent it over yesterday. Can you pop it in the chat?
And do that.
Okay. So we're very quickly going to go through, because we're mindful of time, our 4-point guide to showing up well. And conveniently, it's the acronym BOLD. And let me see. Come on, slide. Oh, not that. Ah, sorry, guys. No, let's do this. Jen, you want to take the B?
Sure. So I've just been walking you through some of the pieces of what we do with the body. So this applies with understanding what your face is doing, knowing what your posture is doing. Stance is something that's important when you're speaking. So if any of you are using a standing desk, make sure that when you're presenting or running a meeting, that your feet are firmly on the ground, hip width apart, so that you're grounded, you're steady in how you're delivering, that you're not wobbling around like this. Because if any of you have ever seen a speaker where they may look like this, you know they're doing something funny with their feet or with their hips. It shows up on camera from the bottom part of the body. And then the energy. What is the energy that you're bringing? Are you showing alertness with your face? Are you attending to the people in the room? So like right now, you can tell by the way I'm looking that I'm looking at who's doing what in the room. Like Joanna's looking to one side, Sharon's looking the other direction. Barbara's kind of curious and leaning in a little bit. So, attending to your audience, bringing that energy.
The next, come on, there we go. The next part of this is the O is for own it, right? So we can talk to you about how you deliver. The first piece is this confidence thing that we work on a lot with folks, especially when they need to present a lot. And it's all about own your intelligence, your expertise, and your personality. My business partner whips out that puppet with zero notice. It's part of her personality to be playful. You wouldn't want her to show up and be serious all the time, right? So own your personality, bring that to the meeting, show people who you are. And it's also much more interesting than how many of you have been to a Zoom presentation where you're like, oh my God, stick something in my eye and put me out of my misery, right? People droning on and on with no recognition that they have an audience in front of them, and that 19th slide with a white background and black type really wasn't necessary. And they might want to invest a little bit in having the look on the screen be a reflection of their brand, right? The next piece of the BOLD acronym is lighten up. There are some things that are very serious. Johanna will tell you that they had Zoom call after Zoom call about COVID-19, and there were no smiles in that room. And we will still assert to you that even with a serious world going on, we can be lighter in the way that we interact with people and present with them. And part of lightening up might be just asking about something that you know about their personal life to help them click out of doom and gloom and into something that brings them more energy and joy. Or being available for them from a compassion standpoint to support them. Either way, we're lightening up the relationship between us, and also sharing that energy comes into the room. And then that last piece, the D, is deliver with confidence and presence. Integrate some of the points that we've made today into how you show up for others so that they can absorb your content and not be fixated on you as the presenter. In an ideal world, they're less concerned about you and more focused on the information you're sharing and the way that you're having them interact with each other. because they're still your audience if you're presenting. All right, so let me drop that screen. There we go. So that's our BOLD acronym. How does that land with any of you?
What parts of that are most important for you personally? Like, where do you think you might want to take some piece of that and apply a little bit of conscious, intentional effort? I'd be curious to know which parts of that. Body, owning what you've got and your personality, even if it involves a puppet. Lightening up, puppets also help with this, by the way. And then deliver, right? With a certain level of intentional fearlessness. Because that's allowed. If you need to give yourself permission to laugh again and lighten up, do it. Because part of how we're going to get through all of this, you know, the ongoing gifts of 2020 is to give ourselves permission to laugh and lighten up about it. So what parts of that BOLD acronym do you think you might want to practice?
The B for body for me.
The body?
Yeah.
The body part? Okay.
Yeah.
Lori, I felt like you were going to say something. I saw.
I was going to say owning it.
Owning it.
Owning it.
Say more about that. I would love to hear a little more from both of you about that. So Nancy, what more in the body, and Lori, what more in the owning it? Like, what specific pieces for each of you?
For me, the Zooms I've been on are more just listening. So it's a lot of times you just come on and you're just listening, and I'm doing other things or whatever and have my headphones on. So I'm not really participating. So I think being that active participant, you know, we talked about the last one, that thank you to Lauren showing us how to use change your background. You know, I'm conflicting right now with other Zoom callers in the house and other meetings. So, you know, I've got to be in another space where you can't hear them, and it's, so I wind up going outside and realizing the lighting and it was raining actually when I came out here today. So it's like, oh, do I change my location? But just understanding how my body presents on the video and your background, and how that does affect the other callers in the room. So.
And yeah, that's a really interesting, I love that you captured that so neatly, because you affect the person presenting, but you affect the whole energy of the room, just like you do in real life, right? When somebody walks in, like if we're at an in-person table, if we were all at a table together and I'm doing this, how do you feel about having me in the room? So what I love about what you just gave to the room, Nancy, was this idea that there are a million more ways that can happen virtually. So that showing up and being present piece is double important. So thank you for that. Lori, what do you think is important for you to own?
Own my facts, own my ideas, own my beliefs. You know, I think that, you know, when you own it, you can deliver it better, right? So you own it, you're more confident. And so, you know, I just think that that's really important, especially, you know, in a time of Zoom, right? Because you don't have that physical presence, right? And so I think it's sometimes easier to, you know, maybe not own it as much, or for people not to feel you owning it, right? I mean, so I think you have to be more present and more, what do I want to say? I don't want to say determined, but I guess, yeah, I don't know, determined to own what you're saying and actually have people believe it.
What I hear
well, part of what I appreciate
Lori,
about your, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think we
What I
probably
was
heard the
gonna
same
say-
thing. Go ahead.
Yep, is you're talking about making intentional choices, Lori.
And that's the word I couldn't think of this morning. I haven't had my coffee yet.
I'm working on mine. You know, so that whole notion of how do I choose how I show up, how people receive me. That's all intentional choices and takes sometimes a little bit of planning. The other thing that I want to point out, and Nancy, thank you for the gift that you gave in terms of being, aware of what other people are looking at. Those of you, like everybody, look at your square on the screen and look at what's in the backdrop behind you right now. Sandra chose her background, and she has a virtual background that she's used, which works well if you have a solid wall behind you. It does not work well if you have a pixelated background. In other words, if you look at the bookcase behind me, I'm going to do one of my favorite things for you just to show you how this looks. If you put on a virtual background, it reminds me of that movie, The Mummy. See not good, right? So be selective in using that virtual background thing, because unless you have a green screen or a solid wall behind you, it looks terrible. The other thing is that you can curate locations around your house or around your office. You don't always have to be sitting in the same space. Right? And as you can see, Jenny behind her has our 4 keys for successful organizations. That's always in the background. That listen and speak up and build relationships and cultivate ownership. Those are the driving forces of our business. And so we want people to see those all the time. It also conveniently hides the fact that she's in a room in her house that has lots of other stuff in it. So if you're in a place in your house that has a lot of stuff in it, just notice what's behind you and choose to the extent that you can. You can always put a flip chart behind you. Those things are like $15, and an easel is even cheaper. Yeah, right. The great ooh da 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 da.
Right?
Right.
There's my pile. So, and there's no shame in it. So here's the thing to know, and here's the reason that I'm being bold enough to share my pile with you, is I want to see the hands raised of everybody who doesn't have a pile in their house. I see no hand. You don't have a pile? Oh my God! How did you achieve that? Everybody has a pile, right? Everybody has some stuff, right? And now I'll just make my sign crooked. But we've all got our stuff, right? And so here's a consideration in the landscape of, well, now I'm gonna have to fix it. But people are generally, whoa, it's gonna fall on the cat. That's gonna happen. But here's the thing to consider is that there are folks that are gonna tell you that everything needs to be perfect and that you have to be the absolute expert, perfect, you need to put on airs, you need to have the perfect everything in your room. When we do speaker training, very often what we've noticed when people come into the room is they say, well, I went and I did this class and they wanted me to do the thing and it was this and I have to be perfect and I have to put on all these expert hats and I have to be a certain way. And we just ask, where in the mix is you? Where is it, the you that is you, the natural you, authentic you shining through? And I don't care what your background is. If you are showing up as real and you're bold enough to say, hey, wow, this is me, this is real. I'm not saying show everybody your stuff. I'm doing it because it's you guys, because you're this is a safe space for me to do that, to say, hey, look at my crazy stuff. There it goes. Yes. But the point is here, my cat just ran out of the room. But the point here is that it's more important to show up fully as who you are. Does that make sense? And to not worry so much about whether or not the crap behind you falls down, right? Because if I still show up in this space with confidence and I'm still game to say, hey, let's have a great conversation about what's important right now, then that's what's going to be connective for people. Does that make sense? Ellen's horrified right now. She's like, I can't believe your stuff fell down. I can see it on her
horrified.
face.
I think it's hilarious. It's part of the beauty of the Women's Leadership Collaborative, is that we get to show up and be more of who we are and explore how we can be more of who we are in all of our business settings. So as a way to close out this setting, this is part of an ongoing series of offerings from the Women's Leadership Collaborative. We're going to teach you one more tool that you can use during your meetings, because part of what we didn't talk about, it's a whole other session, is actively engaging your audience in your session. And what study after study shows is you have about 5 minutes worth of attention span before people start fading off. So this is a very simple way to grab people's attention back, which is to ask a question. So we're going to ask it to you. If you go to the top of your screen, one of your options is going to be a toolbar. And one of the choices you're going to see is annotate. Okay? So all you have to do is click on annotate and then click on the text button there. You see that?
So the toolbar may not pop up right away. It may say you are viewing Eleanor Nado's screen and view options. You have to click on view options
Thank
to
you.
get the little arrow to drop down. And that should be an annotate option inside that little drop down menu. So it's a two-part click to get to the menu.
Thank you.
All right. So what'll happen is you can start adding your thoughts. You can use this at the end of a meeting and say, what was most meaningful to you today? So instead of people putting things in chat and some people sitting back and putting nothing, they can put, you know, I love puppets. And the thing is, until the person presses send or clicks out of it, their thing doesn't match. It doesn't register. But as the person who's running the session, you can actually click on sessions and move things around. You can also have people put hearts and stamps and fun stuff on things and encourage people to just get funky with you. You can put a list of what was most valuable and put a list of the things that you covered today and then ask people to annotate showing hearts and stars what was most valuable. Has anyone ever used a tool like this during your meetings? No, and it's a this is easier actually than using the whiteboard in Zoom, we find, because you can then control the slide and you can also do something like this, which is clear all drawings. And then you can just move on in your presentation, because if you don't clear all drawings, then it doesn't go away. All right.
We've often used this as a tool for getting at further information in terms of taking a slide that has existing information on it and having people annotate comments directly next to whatever it is on the slide, or make a star next to it and say, okay, this part right here is the most important part of this slide for me.
See? Cool, right? Super easy. You don't have to be technologically advanced. You can put a blank slide in the middle of your PowerPoint presentation and ask people to add their feedback there. You can either preload it with comments or you can ask an open-ended question. Either way, it's a different way to get people engaged than using chat. Okay, so we need to clear that. And then we will go on to the one more thing. Oops. There we go. So just quickly for you, we have a couple of programs coming up this fall. If you'd like to join us, we'd be happy to talk to you about it. This is great at the individual level. It's also if you want to bring a team. These are multi-session 2-hour blocks where we're on the first teaching how to manage and navigate through change using emotional intelligence. The second one is using DISC, which is a very popular personality assessment, as a management tool. Learning to understand yourself and then others to be more effective in managing, particularly important when we're doing remote working, because we need to have more of a sense of who people are, how they prefer to work, and all of that. And to close out, we just want to thank Johanna, the Chamber, the Women's Leadership Collaborative, and all of you for attending today. The session has been recorded. I apologize in advance for the comments about anatomy that we made that I forgot the recording was going. So there's another tip, is remember that we're always recording. And we are happy to take questions now. And Jenny, I didn't know if you had an activity to go out on.
Well, why don't we give them a moment to, I would love to hear as we're exiting here, I would love to hear what the most important takeaways are from today.
I'll say something.
Thanks, Sharon.
For me, I think it's the laughter. I think that all these meetings are so serious, and when we come on, we see everybody, Like today, I really made an effort to say, hi, everybody, you know, because sometimes we just sit there and stare at the screen and wait till a meeting starts.
Yes.
So I think maybe an icebreaker to start a meeting with is a great idea, and your laughter and the jokes. And I'm going to use a lot of that in the next time I have a meeting.
Great.
I think it's a great idea because we're all so serious.
And people will thank you for it.
Yeah.
People will thank you for lightening up. I can't tell you how many meetings we've been on where people are just absolutely, I mean, they literally are saying, oh my gosh, thank you for just bringing straight up silliness into the room.
It's
So I
true.
love that idea, Sharon. Thank you for that. What else? What else has been most important for everybody today?
Mary?
Mary?
I think that mentioning that whatever you're putting on the screen needs to reflect your brand. I think people get lazy. You know, I thought that was an important part.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I know that Lauren Middleton is on the call, but I think she's still on. One of the things that we talked about was having her do a session on Canva, which is a very popular graphic design program where you can actually design your virtual background so that it has your branding on it. Obviously, I still haven't gotten to it. I bought a green screen. It's right over there.
Yes, I think that's a great idea.
Yep. So that was one of the things
Right.
we talked about. And somebody else that was on the call also talked about producing, like the elements of the producer and setting up your session with a producer and what the different roles are so that you really deliver an effective meeting. That's another potential topic going forward. Sorry to interrupt. What other value? Yes, Mary.
One other thing that was not mentioned, you talked about the producer. I belong to a Connecticut chapter of the League of Professional Theater Women, and we do rehearsals. We don't go and do a Zoom presentation without meeting with everyone who's hosting, co-hosting, and speaking 1 or 2 days before, because it's just like
Exactly.
doing a show. You have
Yep.
to rehearse it.
Yes, you do.
Yep.
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 Yeah, we did
That's critical.
an association meeting, and you know they had guest speakers and we had exercises, and we hired that producer and we had a dress rehearsal the day before for an hour, and everybody knew what they were expected to do on that call. Makes things go smoother. What else? What other value did you get out of today? Yes?
Just paying attention to how you look on the screen and remember that everybody can see you.
Yes. Yep. And you do have the option, by the way, to turn off your self view. I don't know if you know that. If you go into speaker view, if you go in, where is it, Jenny? I can't get to it here on mine, but it's up in your,
It's on your own little box. So if you click in the upper right hand of your own personal little box, you should have something that says mute, and then you should have 3 little dots, and it should be in your drop down menu there that you can hide your self view.
which
So
is
that
once
you
you've
don't have to
established
look
how
at
you look on the
yourself.
screen, you don't have to be looking at yourself all the time, which may make you less self-conscious when you're presenting. It's good to like establish where you are and how you look. And then if it makes you too self-conscious, you can turn that off, which might help you be more natural. Some people like it, some people don't.
Yep. All right. I'm going to say that we can close out, and I'm going to share a little. When in doubt, go out
Snap with me,
dancing.
ladies.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Everybody have a great
Oh.
day.
Thanks.
You too.
Guys,
Okay.
great job. Thank you so much.
Great job.
Bye.